little bit of a different one today. We're gonna have by the way, the tape reading from this morning is posted if you want to go in and watch that. I took a trade off stream after the fact, which we'll go through tomorrow. But we'll do a full market review tomorrow, as well as the Q&A and psych stuff that we typically do. That'll be tomorrow at some time. But just wanted to hop on here because I think this is going to be useful for most, which is kind of a pre-game routine, right? Any professional athlete, as you probably know, and if you've played any sports before, or even played video games before, you know that in order to perform the best, it's a very wise decision to warm up. And being a trader, you are a mental athlete, right? You're performing in a sport or in a game that 90% of the general population, if not 99% of the general population, cannot do, right? Which, I mean, by definition, you look at professional athletes, 90% of the population cannot do what they do. So you have to treat this, obviously, with utmost respect and with a very professional mindset if you want to play against professionals, right? This market is programmed to take money from you, and it is only a professional that can consistently take money out of the market. So in order to prep the mind, in order to understand kind of what's going on, that you can perform at your best at any given moment. Let me switch my mouse over. Give me a sec. Switch to my wired mouse. It is best to have some sort of both technical and psychological warm-up routine. I kind of treat trading, or at least my own personal trading, in terms of my personal life, of what I can relate it to. So I treat this pre-game routine as a pilot. All right. It is very easy in trading to make mistakes, psychological mistakes, technical mistakes, and we have to have a very rigid mechanical way of making sure that we are in check and in line. There's a lot of things we got to keep track of. So I've checklisted it, where I'm just kind of like a pre-flight routine. You know, there's a ton of stuff I'm making sure that I understand and I know. So when I come into a day that I'm looking to trade, I am mentally prepared to engage with whatever's going on. Right? I'm ready to take a loss. I'm ready to take a win. I'm ready to take no trade if it doesn't offer me one. I'm also technically warming up. So I'm going to provide you a list here of things that maybe you want to implement yourself. And if you want the copies of these pages, I'll send it to you as well. But just something to consider if you don't have something like this beforehand. I think it's very unwise to wake up at 9:27, head to the charts, and within 2 minutes expect that you're going to be in a mental state to be potentially losing thousands of dollars on demo, and be completely fine with that. That's the end goal, of course, but as you're progressing, how do we get it so our mental framework is already kind of conditioned to be in that setting, to understand and respect risk and be okay with whatever outcome is given? So number one is to have that kind of checklist. I have a couple of assessments that I would go through, and this is more for the mental side of things. Obviously, you kind of have a technical warm up with getting a bias. I still think that you should kind of review your entry model if you have one and understand how to get a bias. But mentally, how do we look at that? So first thing I'll do normally is look at kind of a risk profile. I've drafted up kind of a sample risk profile here, which would be kind of what are you looking for in terms of a risk, per day. Kind of what are you allowing yourself to risk potentially for that trade or for that day, and anything that's that side of things. I want to understand, okay, here is my limit for today, and it's a very rigid level and not something, I feel like I'm going to use this amount of contracts. Nope. Specific rigid risk that we can accept and understand has a very mechanical way of getting us out of drawdown and growing that account. So in this sample, I've kind of just provided, potential drawdown limits or potential profit balances of the account. and then how much risk respectively we're going to use at each of those account balances. So, for example, if you're at $7,500 in profit, the first trade we'll take is 1,000 per risk, and then the second ones that follow 500, 500, then 400, 400, 200, etc. But not really specific that you memorize this. It's just when you come into the charts, make sure that you know what's your risk for today. And for example, if I had lost yesterday or 2 days before, what specific risk am I going to use as a response to that? To, number one, stop the bleeding, but also get me out of drawdown as fast as possible. That's the kind of the dynamic you have to play with. Is you don't want to get a drawdown too quickly, because then you're going to be risking a lot, but also you want to stop the bleeding potentially of taking added and additional losing trades. So number one is just to create some sort of risk profile where okay, this is where I'm standing today. I have a little indicator here. You can throw this around and say, okay, I'm here today, and kind of just keep track of that. Very simple. I'm doing this all in Notion. And then you create something called a pre-day assessment, kind of asking yourself questions mentally. Are you ready for these kind of things? And number one, acknowledging the mental structure that you have to be sitting within, right? So understand the risk profile, then you go into the pre-day assessment. And these are just blank statements. And I suggest initialing them. This is kind of like a daily contract, if you will, where you are signing a daily contract every day that is going to hold as a word. If I've signed something, this is kind of set in stone what I should be doing. But also a reminder for yourself of what you should be kind of going through. If you want to print it out, you could, and sign a daily contract every day. I just have it typed out and I just initial them. But this is something you can go through as well. So understanding, okay, today is a high quality day from the sense of be able to follow my process, not be focused about the outcome of the money. So you initial this, right? Put your initial down, whatever. Then you can put down, I know my risk profile. I'm able to accept any outcome. I acknowledge that I'm an observer. I've reviewed the price action in depth, have a rough bias from the higher time frame to lower time frame. Accepting something like I do not know where the market is going to go all the time. So I must wait for an answer key to drop at the end of the session to understand the purpose at times. And then last one, this is from Mark Douglas. I want to give myself money today and protect it if physical and mental probabilities decrease. So mental reminders and framework that you can be using for yourself to understand, okay, this is how I should be looking at trading today. And you're going to initial all of these and sign all of these. So you can go back in. And if you break any of these rules, you have a very signed contract to say, yeah, I did not follow my process today, right? Nowhere in here does it say I'm going to, there's no focus about money, no focus about a trade, focusing on your job as a trader. So in a sense, this is kind of that pre-flight checklist where you may know these things, right? And it may be tedious to go through them. I don't care, right? You don't think a pilot after flying for 10,000 hours doesn't know half of the pre-flight checklist at that point, right? But if he misses one thing on that checklist, it has possibility of causing many people their lives. And in this case, your account. So even if you memorize them, even if you go through them, as you're going through, please understand that you want to be reading these, whatever you have written out for yourself, not just reading them with using 10% of your brain, but actively read them, right? Say them out loud if you need to. That really helps. So that way you're hearing it, you're saying it, and you're signing it, and that kind of ingrains it into your brain. And this may only take, 2 minutes to do. So understand the risk profile, understand your pre-day assessment. I'll also go through my injecting logic for the day. This screenshot here is specifically from CJ Trades. He was my mentor for the first about year of my trading, other than ICT. And this is just injecting logic that you can create for yourself. Obviously, you don't have to use these ones, but I think these are great. I have a couple other ones that I'll remind myself of. But creating phrases that help you understand the underlying flaws and illusions that create emotions. And then when you see those emotions rising, statements that you can tell yourself in term as well as breathing that will sedate some of those negative emotions, negative thoughts, right? So there's one here for mistakes. There's one for unrealized profits. There's one here for lacking confidence, one for hating to lose. You can probably develop another 3 to 5 more that are associated with this kind of thing. But the main thing you want to be doing here is repeating the injecting logic and breathing, preferably, deep breaths through your stomach, not upper chest or anything, but actually through your stomach, expanding your stomach out. That actually has a scientific purpose, which is to slow down your respiratory rate, slow down your heart rate, and reduce the amount of cortisol and adrenaline being shot into your bloodstream. So if you can mentally remind yourself of things, if you can breathe properly, that combination of the two a lot of times will help remove some of those emotional and physical responses that you get to uncomfortable situations, and remind yourself of things like the pre-checklist that we just did, right? That pre-day assessment. All right, so you're reminding yourself your risk, going through the assessment, going through your injecting logic that you're going to use for the day. The last thing would just be a very brief kind of pre-session checklist, which is just making sure that you're not going to make any stupid mistakes, right? Everyone has been, at least I personally, wanted to trade the micros. You throw on 10 contracts on the micros or 9 contracts on the micros, and then you look at your P&L and it's already down $2,000 because you accidentally clicked on the minis. Very simple mistake. Everyone does it, but make sure that it's not a mistake that you make over and over again. So make sure you go through the risk. Make sure you go through, if you have a settings platform, you can do something like Top Step X or Trade of 8. Some of those things have risk settings that you can kind of adjust how much daily loss before you get locked out, sort of thing. Make sure you get that set properly. You're on the correct asset. If you have a risk calculator, make sure that's on deck. You already went through the pre-assessment. You already went and reviewed through your entry criteria for the day. And for some people, this will vary day to day. For me, it varies day to day. And then obviously the last one is collecting your bias. So making sure that you're collecting it. You don't have to have it finished by the time that you're doing this checklist, but making sure that, okay, got all these checked off. Again, it may be tedious. I don't care. It's going to help you save, your mindset. It really doesn't matter how tedious it is. It's just going through something that even if it's you're already in a state of mind that you don't have to worry about those things, sometimes just the flow of things helps you get into that mindset where you can perform at the best possible way that you can, right? And then at the end, you'll have a logbook, which after the day is finished, so these four rather are for your pregame, right? That's your warm-up routine. You go into your session, you decide to take a trade, you maybe decide not to. Either way, that's going to be taken and logged in some sense. This is my personal one, so I'm not going to go through this, but you're going to log that, making sure you're logging. I split my P&L and my actual journal. So in my personal journal, I don't want anything to do with money. All right, I want to get that out of the way and then go into my journal and figure out, was there anything mentally or process-wise that I could have done better, pat myself on the back, etc. So I have a process logbook, which will just be logging the actual trades, right? Making sure I log the P&L, making sure I log the risk for that trade, making sure I log the screenshot of that trade, getting that out of the way. And then going back into my journal and actually writing the mental side of it, right? Not keeping any, I don't want in my journal, I don't want anything to do with the amount of money. I don't want anything to do about the risk. Just simply focusing on the process. Maybe what the outcome was, you could put at the top, I took one trade, it was a win or loss, whatever. And then also making sure that there's no what ifs, should have, could have, would have, because there's nothing about the past that you could have changed, right? So sure, it may suck. You take a trade. For example, I took a trade today, got a partial off, rest of them got stopped at a break even, and then it went right to both of my targets. You can pout about it. You can say, I should have trimmed my stop here. I shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's not going to do anything. And you have to understand that whatever decision you made at the time was the best decision that you believed possible. So if I believe that, okay, I'm going to take a partial here, I pay the trader, cut my risk, get stopped out. That's where you end it. You don't say, oh, look, it went to my take profit. I should have done this or re-enter or whatever. Because if I had gotten stopped out and it went down, 100 points, I would have been like, look how great this stop loss was. And look how great of a trim it was. So it's the fact that you're trimming that stop loss and making that decision itself is what you have to look at. Was it a good, reasonable technical trim, or was it based on something else, right? Was it based on you securing a payout? Was it based on you being scared of the risk? Maybe your risk was too high, things like that. That's what you should be assessing inside of that journal. And I suggest splitting as much as you can the difference between that P&L and the actual journal itself. And I journal through either I got a physical copy right here, or I have Obsidian, one of these random note-taking apps you could probably use. I like typing it up because I can type pretty fast. So doing it there. And then at that point, okay, you got a pre, during, post. As soon as you finish with that, you're done for the day, right? Don't worry about it. If you need to, don't even look at the charts, right? Sometimes looking at the charts causes that added pain because you see about all the profits that you missed, or if I should have or would have left my trade on. Don't do that, right? As soon as you're done journaling, you sign it off. At the bottom of every journal, you say, I'm proud of you, did a good job today. You sign it off, boom, done, right? You don't worry about what could have happened. You don't worry about dwelling on the wins or the losses. It's a major thing, right? As soon as you close off that journal at the end, do not dwell on your win. Do not dwell on your payout. Do not dwell on your loss. As more you think about those things, the more they become problems. So leave it there. Go on and live your life, right? Do something else. Get your mind off of it. I'll normally hop on a game. I'll go make some food. I'll hop on a game with my friends for a good hour or 30 minutes or whatever I got time for. Gets my mind off of it. Then I'll go to the gym, go work out, hit the field, whatever, and you live your life, right? So some of it is tedious, some of it is annoying, but to me, this is, as you develop a model, trading is what, 90% psychological, 80% psychological. So if there is simple solutions like this, going through these things that is able to have a great effect on your psyche coming into the session, and even when, if you're not able to initial these or sign these, and you really look at it, the first one I have up here, today's a high quality day from the sense I'll be able to follow my process and not be focused about the outcome or money in any sense. If I cannot initial this with absolute clarity, I should not be trading the day, right? So this is both a checklist and kind of a filter for you, where if you're not able to do these things, you're probably setting yourself up for a loss, or potential even worse, which is creating scar tissue because you decided not to follow your rules, right? So this will make you wake up earlier. This will make you get to the charts earlier because you have to get your bias, and now you have to do something like this. But I really think that it has a huge exponential benefit to it because of the fact that it just promotes, number one, your mental side of things, where you're engaging your mental, doing a little bit of a review mentally to make sure that you're okay with trading today. And obviously just the warm up and there's the technical side of it too. But this is one of those things that I think everyone should be doing if you're not doing it, and just see how it goes for a week, right? And if you see that it has some benefit in it, keep it. If it doesn't, you think it's kind of just useless, then you don't have to do it. Eventually, you do this for enough times, let's say 30 days in a row, you're going to have a pretty good understanding of this, and you'll be able to do it just mentally, right? And sometimes, I'll go through days, and when I'm going downstairs to get some water, I'll just simply kind of just go through, all right, am I mentally, am I good? Is today a good high quality day to trade? Is there any expectations I'm placing on price action? Am I thinking about money in any sense? Things like that. You can kind of just do that outside of the PC, but it's also good just to have this just in case you mess up. So make it very technical, very rigid. And your job as a trader is boring. Unfortunately, it's very boring. You show up, you do kind of the same thing, you leave. It may only take 2 hours, 3 hours at most, but it's a boring job. That doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. It's just not new in any sense, right? you're going to come to this, you're going to do the warm up, you're going to do the trading, you're going to do the post, and it's almost going to be easy because you're going to win in the sense of you're doing your job every day, you're winning. Just now you have an exponential pay rate compared to someone else who's limited to $15 an hour or whatever it is, right? I saw a stat yesterday that in order for you to have the same home buying purchasing power that you have today as our parents did, and the quote unquote, or maybe not your parents, but my parents, the minimum wage right now would have to be around $60. So you look at it right now, it's about 15. So everyone else is going to be struggling in some sense, and you'll see that continuously as we go on in this year and into the rest of this decade. So you have a boring job, but you do not have to worry about the money, right? I think the best thing about having money is not worrying about it. Anything after that is vanity. So take it as you will. I don't want to make this super long. It's about 20 minutes. So if you want the copies of this and you want to make your own, I'll screenshot this if you want it. Nothing crazy to it. You can just type one up yourself. I have this on Notion. If you want to make it a checklist, you can. Things like that. But I highly suggest this. I think that it's well worth your time of doing it. It may take 10 minutes. Not a terrible little thing to go through. But like I said in the beginning of this, the market review for today's price action will be probably tomorrow. I got some things I got to take care of today. Hang out with some people. And we'll do a kind of psych Q&A stuff as well tomorrow if you want to throw anything in there. All right. You have a favorite album of this year so far? Like music album? That's a tough one. Talking about released in 2025? Or before that? Released in 2025. Album of the year. Yep. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I don't know if I have a favorite one, but I think the one that I've been listening to recently is trying to see. I'm scrolling through my Spotify right now. I did like the Isaiah Falls. I don't know what album that was called. Florida Love Story or something. And I've been getting into a bunch of other stuff, house music and things. In the summer, it's always different. Trends in the minimum wage, track productivity, exactly. Yeah. Right. I did. It's kind of like old JB, right? Not too much up my alley, but it is actually not too bad. I'm waiting for the Bryson Tiller's supposed to drop another album this year, so I'm waiting for that. Yes, sir. And I'm waiting for my boy Tory Lanez to get out of jail, and he can drop another album. But yeah, I'll send you some recs if you want to hear my music taste. I'm all over the place though. Do you think next week will be decent or bad? Do we have a lot of news? It looks sketchy. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, it's NFP week. Oh wow, we got stacked news. Holy cow. FOMC on Wednesday too. Yeah. I mean Monday, Tuesday, then main focus. Monday, Tuesday. Friday, right? Kind of same NFP protocol, I guess. Yeah, it's a lot of news. So yeah, it might be a crazy volatile week. Maybe this is what it was price action was waiting for. Trump also said tariff. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really keep up with the tariff stuff. Just added like weird whatever. But we're living in a weird time nowadays, I'm not gonna lie, with the news. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but you got all that I mean, all the AI stuff, right? Like probably end of this year, you're not gonna. I mean, I don't even know at this point what's real and what's not. Like it's very hard to tell. So you give it another month, you give it, to the end of this year, you're not gonna know at all what's real and what's not. So the news on the TV, the news that they come out with becomes increasingly more stupid. It's already stupid in my opinion. So as much as you can learn, especially as a trader, you have to have a very good mental filter. And this is evidence of that. Um, get off the news, get off the social media, right? On my phone, I've got, I'm not saying you have to do this, but on my phone, I've got no social media. Um, it's kind of a brick, I guess, but that stuff is all, it's all programming for you. And you could look at it and probably just see how much minute little messages, subliminal messages that they put in those things. And you know, you don't have to worry about it. You worry about trading going and all this stuff. Added fear that you don't need. We deal with every day, day by day, what it is. And as a trader, your job is to perform. So all those things, the outside noise, you got to be very, very careful of, because you let it into that filter, has the ability to affect your trading. No social media. Do you just conversate on iMessage? Yeah. Um, realistically, for me, social media is. I mean, it's not a waste of time necessarily. I think most of it is. If in my mind, if there's any news thing that is important enough, someone else will tell me. Either my mom or my friends will let me know. Hey, did you see this thing on the news? And it's probably BS anyways. Someone dying or some tornado blowing up a thing. What am I supposed to do about it? But yeah. I'm either conversating with people on iMessage, on FaceTime, um, Discord, you know. But I've realized that, especially with like the AI stuff I was talking about, you don't know what's real nowadays. So as much time as you can spend in freedom while we still have it, um, that's the best thing. Do I have a girlfriend? Yeah, we're cooked. This one from pregame routine to life advice. I'm not gonna say anything. I've wanted to try it, but I still want some sort of news update like Hulk Hogan died. Right. I feel that. It's I had that same dilemma of like, do I want to keep social media and things? But number one, it just seems like now everything is short form content. Like it's almost inescapable. Like I hopped on Twitter yesterday and my entire Twitter feed is short form content. I don't even subscribe to that stuff. So that alone is just brain rot, literally. So, it's, I don't know. I really have, at this point in time in my life, my most valuable asset is my time. So, like I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed to be in that position. But my most valuable thing, my asset, is my time. So I spend my time on things that I truly find value in. Um, so you have to. I think it's beneficial if you do the same. You really look at, am I getting a positive ROI out of whatever it is? You know, I don't. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to do everything perfect, right? I still play games. I still do all that stuff, but that gives me a positive ROI. Hang out with my friends, that stuff is all important. But YouTube is really the last one that I have, for watching YouTube vids. That's the kind of one thing that I'll do eating lunch or whatever. But yeah, you got all that stuff. Benjamin actually makes some pretty good videos. But yeah, be very careful with that stuff. And obviously it's the mental side of trading. You kind of just become numb to things, I think, is what I realized. Any profitable trader will tell you this. But and even if you're not profitable and you're striving to be, you kind of become numb to things. Like not in a negative way, but your response and reaction to certain news drivers and such is all um, kind of dulled down. So there's a very good book which is Think and Grow Rich, and if you've not read that book before, I think it's a very good one, as well as The Disciplined Trader by Mark Douglas. But what you feed into your brain is going to be what you get, right? Your brain is just a habit building machine. So if you're constantly feeding it garbage, it's going to produce garbage. If you're constantly letting in fear come into your charts, come into your brain, it's going to expose itself in the charts. You're going to be scared of different things, right? You're scared of what if World War III happens, and then that translates into you rushing a payout. That translates you into over leveraging, and then that translates into you blowing your account. So little tiny stuff has the ability to affect your trading, is what I've realized. So that does not mean that you have to be perfect. Like I said, it's just be very aware of what you're letting into your brain. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not. Yeah. Bare minimum for not to engage in social media disputes or toxicity. I agree. Yeah. There's only so much you can do. Um, but yeah, I've realized that it's just, you go to sleep and you have no idea what you just watched the entire day on whatever short form. You have no idea what you read on Twitter. So the argument is, oh, what about the little tiny stuff, that the benefits that you're going to get out of it? Normally, it's an 80-20 ratio, right? 80% of it is bad, 20% of it is good. Why would you even let that 20% in? Although it may be 80-20, why are you even letting that amount of negative stuff into your life, right? What do you think the best way to build mental off the charts? Just gym, read, cut out short form content, still having trouble even those protocols. Yeah, this is one of them, right? Having a sort of pre-checklist, but I think this is just for trading. Um, to build your mental outside of it, yeah, gym, read, cutting out short form content, that's all beneficial. I think um, that helps build self trust and self respect, right? Which is self respect and self trust is just self discipline. I think honestly, you have to a lot of deep introspection, a lot of deep introspection, sitting there and really thinking about what's scaring you, right? What your problems are in terms of psychological problems in trading, right? If you're struggling with any specific thing, sometimes the hardest part in trading is finding that root cause, which is why talking to other people helps a lot, especially people who are experienced. Um, but I mean, building mental, it's really what are you letting in? What are you thinking? Like, so a man, like what's that one quote? So a man thinketh, so he is. Um, it's in a sense it's controlling your mind, but what you let in, what you let out, and who you have around you is a very high influence to um, sort of thing, right? But yeah, short form content would be Instagram, TikTok, yeah, that kind of stuff, and YouTube Shorts, right? The stuff that you scroll through and you have no idea 10 minutes later what you just watched. It's just, I mean, look around you, right? It's not hard at all to be great. When 99% of the population around you is scared of the news, is addicted to their phones and short form content, and has no idea how they're going to get out of the rut that they're in, right? Like buying food nowadays is a problem. Like I went to the store yesterday and it was like I bought three things and it was $50. And I bought granola bars, some, like it's like I don't know how people survive in this. But it's not hard to be great in this. So trading is the easiest I think it's ever been mentally, because the problems that we have now are very stupid compared to probably the problems of, I mean, it's all the same, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Have you ever thought about moving out of the US or going to, yeah, I thought about going to, I'm probably going to move out of where I am right now. I don't think I'm going to move out of the US. just because of the whole hassle of things. When I got 100 mil in the bank, then I'll consider it. But yeah, I would consider going to PR for the tax benefits, even Florida for the tax benefits. You got no capital gains tax there, but yeah, I've considered it. It's just the hassle of things, and obviously the lifestyle that you got to live in. You get a lot of freedom, but I really do enjoy seeing people. Like, can't just live by myself. So, um, right now the pros don't really outweigh the cons of moving to Switzerland or something like that. How to stop revenge trading? Um, if I had to summarize it in one tip, it would be to understand the nature of the market and that it is always offering you an endless opportunity. We revenge trade a lot of times. Obviously, there's going to be way more problems because of revenge trading, but a lot of times we revenge trade because we want it right now, right here with this setup. And when this setup loses, if it's a good setup, if it loses, you're constantly wanting to get it back instantaneously, and we lose sight of the long term. So injecting logic is the main thing, right? As soon as you lose, you need to understand, number one, that you have to accept the risk. Accept whatever risk you're going into it. That's why I have in that first one. You need to accept the risk, right? You need to. I'm able to accept any outcome today because I'm process focused and accept responsibility for any decision that I make. So if you take a trade, it was a good trade, say negative $1,000 on that trade. You need to understand that there is going to be a method in solving that. Number one, there's variance. So if you flip the coin, sometimes it's going to land on tails. And number two, the only way to get out of drawdown consistently is by two things: managing the risk, taking good trades. Simple as that. So sometimes we overtrade because we want it right here, right now. And obviously it's uncomfortable. So the way that you stop revenge trading is you limit yourself to one trade per day, maximum. So you simply cannot take a second trade. You're limiting yourself to one trade. So that one trade that you decide to take has to be the best setup that's offered. And if you can't do that, that sucks. that's just blatant honest truth. You have to limit yourself. If you're saying two trades, then you're going to take three, right? If you take, say, three trades, you're going to end up taking four, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So limit yourself to one, and whatever that outcome is, you deal with it. And then you understand the fact that you need to be managing the risk, taking good trades. That's the only way you will ever get out of drawdown. And number two, your job as a trader is to constantly manage the drawdown, right? You're always going to be in green. You're always going to be in red. It's just part of the job description. So as much as you can get comfortable with the fact that you're never always going to be in the green, right? You're constantly, I'm going to always take losses, right? I'm going to take losses and I'm going to have to get out of that. But my job as a trader is to manage drawdown. Manage drawdown. Any Joe Schmo off the street can be green and be happy about it. But can you be red and be happy about it and know what to do? That's the job as a trader, to develop that mindset, develop that skill of getting out of drawdown properly, not fearing it, but accepting it as part of the job description, right? What were the most difficult changes you had to make to become a profitable trader? That's a good question. Difficult changes you had to become to make it. I think letting go of control was the hard thing for me. Perfection as well. I think those two, it was maybe not a change, but a mental error that I had. So I am Asian American. I'm brown. And I grew up here in the US. So the way that I was raised is obviously in the typical Asian American thing of 100% A plus. If I got an A minus, I'm cooked, right? So that mindset and the way that I was raised coming into trading had negative effects, which is I wanted to be 100% perfect, you know, never take a loss. So that mental shift of not needing perfection was tied to my ego. Um, right? Is the fact that I need to be this good, otherwise I couldn't be profitable. My mindset that was that I needed to be 100% win rate or 90% win rate to be profitable. And the fact that I had to accept that I only had to be a 40% 2R to be profitable. I realized that, and every single time I would blow an account, I would think, oh, it was because it wasn't enough money. So I would increase my account, increase my account, increase my account. Meaning I would have more and more risk. And then I realized it wasn't even about for me, it wasn't even about making the money. I didn't care if it was $2,000 profit. I didn't care if it was $12,000 profit. There was a point in my career where I had lost $36,000 in a day because of the fact that I had that error, which is the fact that I wanted to be perfect. And that loss itself, probably a lot of money. It is a lot of money for most. That loss itself made me realize, okay, I have a problem, and it is my ego not allowing me to be anything less than perfect. So that's probably number one. Number two, um, my idea of control. I'm not a controlling person, but I like to have things my way, especially when it's something that I know I'm good at. It's just that kind of idea of control. Like, for example, if I'm in a game, whether it's a sport or a video game, and I have teammates that are maybe not less than me, but maybe have a lesser understanding of skill, I'll try and coach them. So I have a very controlling thing. So the fact that I had to submit to the market and kind of whatever it wants to do on that specific day, I have to submit to that. I cannot force a trade. I cannot make it do something. I can only control myself. Those two things, and kind of number one, releasing the control, and number two, accepting the fact that I only have to be a 40% 2R guy to make money in this. That has obviously ties to my ego, because it's really going to be whatever you feel is mostly closely tied to your ego, and you feel pain or like resistance against that thing. That's the thing that you have to address the most. So whatever truth or whatever thing that I say or someone else says that resonates with you and you actively suppress it, that's normally the thing that has to be solved, right? So, and sometimes it takes a lot of it's two things. It's either forced fixing, because you do something so stupid and you're so far down in that hole that you're like, what the heck am I doing? So for me, it was the biggest loss of my career. Or it's going to be your decision before that happens, which preferably that needs to be what it is. Before it happens, before that pain happens, how do I fix it? And it's just understanding and accepting the fact that you cannot do this any other way besides submitting to the rules. There is no shortcut. There is no secret. There is no anything that will solve trading for you other than the fact that there's one path. Every successful trader will tell you the same thing, which is there's one path to success. Every nook and cranny that you think is a shortcut will not work. Your only two jobs is to manage your risk, take good trades. That's it. If you can do that, you can have whatever you want, whenever you want, right? You never have to worry about money again. But you need to understand that this is a professional game and that you have a job to do. Very simple job, but a job to do. If you cannot do that job, you will lose your job. If you can do it, whatever your dreams and aspirations are, trading will achieve those for you, right? So it's about becoming a trader. Do not worry about winning trades. Worry about becoming a winning trader. What are the goals? What is something that, right? If you want to be a professional basketball player, what is Kobe Bryant doing? What is LeBron James doing? What is all these people doing? You copy it, right? Copy what other people are telling you. And if multiple different people are telling you something and have nothing but good advice for you, it's probably in your best interest to just be doing it, even if it goes against what you believe, even if it goes not what you believe, but what you think trading is. Just see it and try it and see if it works. And sometimes we fear the fact that We think that it has to be this way, has to be this way, and we don't even try the other side. We don't even try being, losing. We have, for example, right? If you have a fear of getting out of drawdown and you honestly believe that whatever model you're using, you're going to have a very hard problem getting out of drawdown quickly or even at all, that's going to force you to overtrade. And you're going to constantly be in a problem where you're blowing accounts because of the fact that you're scared of something that you're not even letting come to fruition, right? You may be scared of drawdown. And as a result, you over leverage, over trade because you think the fact that if I were to cut my risk, if I were to take loss after loss and cut my risk and take good trades, I wouldn't be able to get out of drawdown. But the problem is you would never have even experienced that kind of risk management and proper rule following to see if it works in the first place. So it's trading as a mirror, but I really think it's something less than a mirror. I think it's really just you're figuring out everything about yourself, which I guess is a mirror. But the thing about a mirror is it's all visual. You can see all the problems, right? You look at a mirror, you can see every blemish that you have on your face. The market won't do that. The market will show you what's on the surface, but you have to figure out what's underlying, right? You got to figure out, why is it that I have this blemish? Is it something I'm eating? Something that you're consuming, right? Is it something that you are doing to yourself? That's the problem that you have to fix. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do, right? Would you like to adopt me? Send me the form. What do you think of trading 30-second IFEGs, or is it better to just stick to the 1 minute? If you're new, I would just say stick to the 1 minute. That's it's already a low time frame. I don't think you should be dropping to the 15-second or 30-second unless you're like 3 years in. Is what I would tell myself. But yeah, the 1 minute time frame is plenty of opportunities. So the 30-second is going to be very hard to trade if you're anything less than a year in. We'll wrap this up soon. I gotta go soon. Did it take you being profitable or stop being persuaded by stuff you see on TikTok or Twitter, trading wise, or did you have that in you? I see. Did it take you being profitable to stop being persuaded by stuff you see on social media, or did you have that in you before you became profitable? Um, I think it was in me before. Because if you're constantly being swayed, you're not going to be able to become profitable. I truly believe. So it has to be something before. Um, it's got to be something before that. That's why you hop off. I mean, to be completely honest, you look at people around on Twitter, on Discord, whatever. You have no idea what they're going through and what their problems are. And I don't, to be honest, I don't trust someone else to read the market better than I can. In my personal opinion, right? I don't care if you're ICT. I don't care if you're whoever. If you post a trade idea, that's not going to sway me in any way, because of the fact that I trust my ability to be a profitable trader. So it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. That's just the mindset that you have to have. So I think that it has to be developed beforehand. You can't. It'll be very hard to do so if you're trying to become profitable and constantly being flooded with, you're not good enough. Here's something you're missing. Here's something that I did that you didn't do, right? If you're flooding your brain with that, that's what you're going to get out. So limit the stuff that you're putting in and you'll get whatever you want coming out. But if I'm on Twitter 4 hours a day looking at this guy and this guy's 50K trade, if I am constantly getting pelted with, you're not good enough subliminal messages or fears or whatever, it's going to be very hard to control my mind. And when I come into the session, be able to trade properly, right? That's why we have this set up. That's why you have the filter set up, things like that are extremely important that you may not understand is important. But for me, has been one of the biggest things in kind of improving and monitoring yourself, which is watch what you put in, and you'll get what you want out. But it's whatever you put in and whatever you consciously think, that's going to have a huge effect on your trading. And yeah. ICT Morphosu? Morpheus? I don't know who that is. $133K for a mentorship. Oh, candle counting. Oh, yeah. First in Robbins. Wow. Congratulations to him. What's the percentage right now? Robbins Cup 2025. Where's the leaderboard at? Leaderboard. What's his name? Global Cup Trading Championship for futures. Marcy Silfrain. Oh, Forex. Andrea Miranda. I don't think that's him or her. That's great. 330%. Perfect. Not too bad. It's funny that these never mind. But yeah, anyways, I don't want to keep you too long. It's already been going 51 minutes. Holy cow. I gotta head out. So I'll post this later today. Hopefully it was helpful to you. I like doing these psychological talks. I think it's a little bit more personal and you know, despite your technical analysis of what you believe and what I believe, I think we can come together and solve some psychological problems. So I'm gonna start doing these a little bit more. I want to do them at least twice a week, but tomorrow as well we'll have one, which will be obviously the mark review from today. We'll do the trade review from today that I had taken, and then psychological things. So it may hurt your ego a little bit to share some of the things that you're dealing with, but I promise you, if you're willing to accept help and looking for help, you will find success. All right. The people who ask why, the people who look for help, your teachers probably said it before, but those are the ones that find success the fastest and probably the most efficiently. Instead of wandering around trying to figure out things for yourself, just ask for help, right? And if I don't know the answer, I probably can get you the answer. And if I don't know the answer and you know, we still can't find it, then we'll probably put a group of people together and we can help solve that problem for you. All right, so take care the rest of the day. Develop one of these terminals if you want to. All these pre-day assessments, I posted the screenshots into this chat above if you want to use that. I'll screenshot this injecting logic too if you want it. But yeah, take care today. Kind of an early weekend if you didn't take a setup. Hopefully you learned from something from this little call here. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. I'll be streaming Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, most likely. We'll see how the price action goes. But I'll let you know. Yeah. Talk to you guys soon. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.